what if you could take the pulse of the entire internet? I'm not just talking about what people are saying, but what they're actually feeling about any topic at any given moment. Sounds a little like science fiction, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how it's done. Just think about it for a second. The collective mood on a new movie, or a political movement, or even a brand's latest gadget. How on earth do you measure something that massive and, let's be honest, chaotic? Well, that's the big question we're diving into today. Okay, so first things first, let's frame the problem. We're basically on a mission to understand public sentiment on a huge scale, to find that emotional signal inside all the noise of millions of online conversations. At its core, this whole challenge is really a two-part puzzle. First, you've got to actually get the data, all the raw text from the conversations. And then you need a key, some way to translate that text into emotions we can actually measure. So let's start with that first piece, grabbing the data. For that first part, capturing the raw conversation, we're going to use a tool called Twark2. You can kind of think of it as our digital fishing net for catching tweets. So what is Twark2? It's a really specialized tool that has one main job: to archive data directly from the Twitter API. And it does it in a format called JSON. It's really built for people like researchers and developers who need to collect super accurate data.
And you know what? The process is surprisingly simple. It really just boils down to 3 steps. You get the tool authorized, you tell it what you're looking for with a search query, and then you just run the command. The tool handles all the tricky technical stuff for you.
And here's what that actually looks like. This one little command is telling Twark2, hey, search for recent tweets that mention Black Lives Matter and save every single thing you find into this one file. It's an incredibly powerful way to gather data on a huge conversation that would be totally impossible to track by hand. But what kind of data does it actually save? Well, it saves it as JSON. And you can think of JSON as a universal language for APIs all over the internet. It's just a really clean text-based way for different programs to talk to each other and exchange information. And this is a little taste of what that data looks like. See? It's just a series of key value pairs. Each tweet gets turned into this neatly organized object that's packed with info: the text, the user, the time, and a whole lot more. Okay, so now we have the data. Part 1 of the puzzle is solved. Now it's time for this second part of our puzzle, decoding the emotion. To do this, we're going to bring in another tool called NRC-Lex to analyze all the text that we've collected. This is the big question, right? A computer just sees text as a string of characters. How do we get it to see joy, or anger, or anticipation in those characters? Well, that's where our next tool comes in.
NRC-Lex is a Python library that does exactly that. And what's really important here is that it's not just guessing. It's built on the National Research Council Canada's Affect Lexicon, which is this massive, scientifically developed dictionary that connects specific words with specific emotions.
And just like Twark2, NRC-Lex is super accessible. For any developers or researchers out there, this means that with just a little bit of setup, this powerful analysis engine is pretty much ready to go. So what can it actually detect? Well, it measures these 10 core effects. You've got your classic emotions, right, like joy and sadness. But it also gets into more nuanced ones, like anticipation and trust. Plus, it can give you a general positive or negative score. This gives us a really rich emotional palette to work with. So once the tool is all set up, you can just pop it right into your script to start the analysis. And this brings us to the final step, turning all that text into real emotional data. And this right here is the final output. You feed it the text from all those tweets we collected, and boom, it returns what it calls affect frequencies, which is basically a score for each of those 10 emotions. It tells you the emotional breakdown of the text. Just like that, we've turned a raw conversation into data we can actually quantify. Okay, so we've walked through the how, we've seen how to capture the tweets, and then how to analyze them for emotion. But let's take a step back and really look at the bigger picture here. I mean, why go through all this trouble? What can you actually do with this kind of power? The power to read the internet's mood? Well, the applications are probably more significant than you might think. For researchers, this is a game changer. It gives them a way to document online movements with data that's actually verifiable. For businesses, it's an amazing tool to understand customer feedback at a massive scale, going way beyond simple star ratings. But maybe most importantly, it gives all of us a brand new lens to study public conversation itself in a way that was never really possible before. This quote from the Twark2 documentation really gets to a key principle for researchers: verifiability. So because of privacy rules, you can't just share all the raw tweet data you collected. But what you can do is share the unique IDs of those tweets. Then, other researchers can use a tool like Twark2 to hydrate those IDs, which basically means recollecting the exact same public tweets, making the whole research process transparent and reproducible.
So, we'll end with this thought. We now have these incredible tools to ask the internet not just what it thinks, but what it feels. And the only question left is, what do you want to know?